Your bank account is a crime scene, and you are the primary suspect in this case. Stop believing the fairy tale that laziness leads to a mountain of gold and silver coins. My name is Rosma, your financial wake-up call, and we are fixing your broken brain. Passive income is the biggest lie since the invention of the calorie-free chocolate birthday cake. Most people wait for a miracle while inflation eats their savings like a hungry hippo. You have been fed a diet of digital garbage by gurus selling you a hollow dream. Real wealth requires a strategy, not just a prayer and a dusty, old piggy bank today. I will reveal the secret of why your effortless side hustle is actually a massive trap. Listen closely, because your financial survival depends on the harsh truths I am about to drop. Put down the latte, pay attention, and prepare to actually build something that finally lasts forever. Let us talk about the latte factor myth, because skipping your morning caffeine fix won't make you a millionaire unless you plan on living for about 400 years. The opportunity cost of obsessing over $5 expenses is the mental energy you should be using to scale your actual income to the moon and far beyond the stars. If you spend your life hunting for coupons instead of hunting for equity, you're effectively trading your most precious asset, which is time, for a few miserable copper pennies. Hedonic adaptation ensures that even if you strike it rich doing nothing, you will quickly become bored, miserable, and likely blow it all on a gold-plated jet ski anyway. My name is Rosma, and I am here to tell you that making money while you sleep actually requires staying awake for 3 years straight to build the actual machine. Inflation is the silent predator that stalks your safe savings account, nibbling away at your purchasing power until your nest egg is nothing but a few dry, brittle feathers. Doing nothing is actually the most expensive hobby you can have because the market moves forward while you remain anchored to a sinking ship of stagnant, unproductive, and lazy assets. Everyone wants the end result of a passive portfolio, but nobody wants to endure the high-intensity labor required to create the value that the market actually wants to pay for. We are going to dive into the savings trap next, which is a psychological prison designed to make you feel secure while your wealth slowly evaporates into the thin air. Imagine you are running a race where the finish line moves away from you at 4% every single year, yet you're standing still and wondering why you're losing. Passive income is actually delayed reward for massive upfront output, but the internet has rebranded it as magic money for people who are too tired to work a real job. If you buy a rental property, you aren't doing nothing. You are now a plumber, a psychologist, and a debt collector wrapped into one very stressed out and tired human being. If you buy a dividend stock, you are betting that a CEO you have never met won't ruin the company while you are busy watching reruns of mediocre sitcoms. The only way to truly do nothing and get paid is to own a system that solves a problem for people who are currently willing to pay for a solution. Keep this in mind. The market does not pay you for your time, and it certainly does not pay you for your needs. It only pays you for your value. You might be wondering what the secret wealth engine is, but first, we need to dismantle the dangerous idea that your emergency fund should be sitting in a vault. An emergency fund is necessary, but overfunding it is like keeping your best soldiers in the barracks while the war is being lost on the front lines of the economy. Your money needs to be working harder than you do, but most people treat their capital like a pampered pet rather than a high-performance athlete that needs to perform daily. Let's talk about psychological friction. The reason you want to do nothing is that your brain is hardwired to conserve energy, which is great for caves, but terrible for compounding. High-intensity wealth building requires you to override your biological urge to nap and replace it with a strategic urge to deploy capital into high-yield, well-vetted, and scalable opportunities. Remember that passive is a spectrum, not a destination, and you are currently on the end of the spectrum that leads to a very comfortable, yet very certain, financial extinction. The pattern interrupt you need right now is this. Stop looking for a way out of work and start looking for a way into high-leverage, high-impact, and scalable activity. If you think investing is set it and forget it, you are essentially playing a game of poker where you don't even bother to look at your own cards. If you think investing is set it and forget it, you are essentially playing a game of poker where you don't even bother to look at your own cards. Real strategists, The ones I work with understand that monitoring the environment is a full-time job even if the execution of the trade happens in a single, quiet millisecond. The savings trap feels like a warm hug, but it is actually the cold grip of mediocrity preventing you from taking the calculated risks necessary to achieve true financial freedom. We often mistake activity for productivity, but in the world of finance, doing nothing at the wrong time is just as fatal as doing the wrong thing at high speed. I promise to reveal the trap of the effortless side hustle, and here it is. If it were truly effortless, the profit margin would be exactly zero for everyone involved. Low barrier to entry means high competition, which leads to a race to the bottom, where the only thing you earn is a headache and a very sad bank statement. You need to build a moat, a concept that requires intense intellectual labor to ensure that your income stream cannot be easily replicated by a bored teenager with a smartphone. Hedonic adaptation is the reason why lottery winners end up back at their old jobs. They didn't build the character required to manage the weight of the money they won. If you don't learn how to manage $100 today, you will be absolutely crushed by the responsibility of managing $1 million tomorrow, and that is a fact. Wealth is a behavioral science, not just a math problem, which is why your lazy strategy is failing even if the spreadsheet says that it should be working quite perfectly. Opportunity cost is the ghost of the life you could have lived if you had the courage to stop doing nothing and started doing the things that actually matter. Every hour you spend looking for a shortcut is an hour you could have spent building a bridge to the life you claim you want but are too scared to build. My name is Rosma, and I have seen more people lose fortunes trying to be passive than I have seen people lose money by actually working on their own businesses. The irony of making money by doing nothing is that the people who actually achieve it are the ones who worked the hardest for the longest period of time initially. You are looking for the harvest without acknowledging that someone had to clear the land, plant the seeds, and fight off the pests while you were busy taking a nap. Stop being a consumer of dreams and start being a producer of reality, because the world has enough dreamers, but it is desperately short on people who actually execute. I want you to visualize your bank account as a living organism that needs to be fed with smart decisions, not just left in a dark corner to rot away. Your emergency fund isn't a safety net, it's a launch pad, but you're using it as a bed, and frankly, you're looking a little too comfortable for someone with no equity. Let's address the inflation monster again. If your returns aren't beating the cost of living, you aren't doing nothing, you are actively participating in your own slow financial decay. The goal isn't to work forever, but the goal is to work intentionally so that your future self doesn't have to pay for the laziness of your current, uninspired self. You need to identify your core competency and leverage it, rather than trying to find a passive way to exploit a market you don't even understand or care about. Every time you see an ad for easy money, remember that the person in the ad is making money from you, which makes you the product, not the savvy investor. This is the open loop finally closing. The secret to wealth isn't doing nothing, it is front-loading effort to create systems that eventually require less of your personal time. Wealth is the ability to fully command your time, but you cannot command what you have not earned through discipline, strategy, and a healthy dose of realistic, cynical wit. We are reaching the end of this session, and I hope your brain feels slightly more uncomfortable than it did when we started this journey into the financial truth today. Comfort is the enemy of growth, and your desire for passive success is just a thinly veiled desire for a comfort that you haven't yet earned the right to have. Now, it is time for you to make a choice between the easy lie of effortless riches or the hard, rewarding path of strategic, high leverage, and intelligent financial growth. Prove you are committed to your future by hitting that like button and subscribing right now. Consider this a formal contract with your future self to never be lazy again.